So first of all, good morning everyone. Welcome to this video, and today basically we are just going to discussing about that is a DMA of array. Okay, so what is the meaning of the DMA of array? We are just going to discussing. So DMA of array means what? As you know, in the C programming, that is a DMA concept is available in the C. We have the three things, that is a malloc, alloc, and realloc. Malloc, alloc, and realloc. So in the C++, we have the how can we create the how can we perform the DMA, means dynamic memory allocation. We are going to see here. Okay, so DMA in a C++, I am just taking the title name, and after that I am just changing the path where all this data is storing. So I'm just taking as a practice C++ and then select folder. After that, next, and then finish. Okay, so here we have the project name. Okay, and inside this we are just going to writing all the source code, whatever we are our requirement. Okay, so this is the funda about that. So here we can see that what are we going to do here. So DMA, we are just going to performing the DMA in a C++. Okay, so DMA means runtime. We are going to create the one object, means we are just going to create the blocks at the runtime. Okay, so this is the panda about here. So how can we do that? We are going to see here. So I'm just taking two variables, that is one is a pointer. I'm just taking first as a pointer, and then second variable I'm just taking as a normal variable, that is a integer types of variable, that is a in. Okay, and after that what am I going to do here? I am just going to giving the one message for the user, enter your number of flocks. Okay, so number of flocks, this one is going to take in, okay, by the user. So we must have to use the cin for the console input. Okay, so I am just taking the value for the n variable, because that one is going to providing the numbers of log, giving the numbers of log. Okay, so after that, after taking the value on the n variable, we must have to use that. So what are we going to do here? We are just going to performing the DMA operations. DMA concept we are going to use in the C++. So what is the meaning? We are going to create the runtime one vlogs. Okay, so how all these things will be happen, as you know that with the help of the pointer all these things will be happen here. Okay, because the main reason is here that pointer is responsible for the create the runtime blocks, you can say. Okay, and then this one is the syntax for that. So why am I writing these things here? Because the, as you know that pointer is just like a pointer variable is a pointer itself, means this one is going to holding the address. Okay, so when I am using the new keyword, so at a time what will be happen, this command will be responsible for the create the integer types of the blocks inside the heap memory. Okay, and here I am just passing the in. So what will be happen here, we are going to create the, if we are writing this only this, so what at a time what will be happen, byte only 4 bytes block size will be created there in the heap memory. But if you want to create the array of the integer types of the data at a time, at the runtime on, okay, so at a time we must have to use this concept, that is a, here I'm just passing the in, because you can also take the 10 or 20 or any values, but basically I'm just taking the input to the n variable, so that's why I'm just giving here in, passing here in. Okay, and after that internally what's happened, we have to the in a heap memory, we have to the created one block, that is a size is n into 4. N into 4 is the size of our blocks. Okay, size for blocks. Okay, and at the runtime all these things is happening. So after the creating the blocks, we must have to see that how all these things is going on. So we can store the data there integer types of the data, and we can also print. So let's that, so we can also insert the data to that block, in that block, and also we can show that all this data. Okay, so I am just taking two another variable, that is a one is a counter. I am just taking for the counting. Okay, so you will see that why am I taking as a counter, you will see. Okay, and I am second one, I am just taking as a only I am taking this one. Okay, but no, I am just taking another, that is a temp variable. Okay, so after that what am I going to do here? After that I am just taking as a for loop. Okay, for the again and again repetition work. Okay, so int counter, so counter is already I have to define that integer type, so I don't need. Okay, so counter equal to I have to assign 1. Okay, but I want to assign 0 because 0th index is will be first. Okay, and then I'm just going to give in a condition here. So counter should be less than n. Okay, and then I am just taking the, I am just increment for the counter variable. Okay, and inside this block inside this for loop I am just going to taking the data again and again. So I am just going to use the cout operations. This is a cout functions, that is a an insertion functions. Okay, for the taking the message I am just giving that, for the giving the message I am just writing here that enter data at index and to given this message. Okay, and then I'm just use the endl for the new line. Okay, and then I'm just giving the counter, means counter will be again and again increase, and that will be give the message as a enter data at index 0, enter data at index 1, enter data at index 2, again and again, whatever, if you are until the this one is not going to less than after the after until this condition will be true. Okay, and then all these things will be happen. So after the giving this message we must have to take the data from the user side. So I am just using cin, and after I'm just taking the on the temp variable. Okay, and after that what am I going to do here? I'm just assigning the value there, that is a dereference for the pointer and the plus counter. So what is the meaning of this? I will say you, I will confirm you, so don't think about more and more. So I have to assign the temp variable as values on the this in this index. Okay, in this address, on this address. Okay, so after the assigning again and again all these things will be happen. After the condition will be fall, and then loop will be control, that is a exit, our compiler our execution will be, our for loop will be silent. Okay, so after that what am I going to do here? Again I am just taking the for loop. Okay, and again I am just using the counter variable again. Counter equal to I am just assigning the 0 again, and counter should be less than, counter should be less than n, and then counter plus plus. Okay, so I have to done that, and after in this block what am I going to do here? So I'm just printing the values, all these values. So I'm just going to first I need to give the message that your data's printf, no print, because in the Python print is supporting, but here printf is used for the printing. Okay, so inside this print function I'm just giving the message that your all data is here. Okay, and then what am I going to do here? I'm just printing all these values here. Okay, so cout function with the insertion operator, and basically I'm just printing the values, that is the values. For the values I'm going to use the dereference operator. Okay, and then I am just going to writing the pointer and flush counter. Okay, so this one is the address, and this one is mainly used for the address here. This one is containing address, and dereference means value of this address. Okay, so this one is going to show the address of the that value of that address, and then I'm just going to handle. Okay, so let's see that what's happening here. So I have to compile. So no any errors, no any warnings, and execution time is the 0 minutes and 1 second only. After the compiling, we are just going to execute. So we can see that this one is a console app, a screen where we are going to getting this message into your number of blocks. So I'm just giving the numbers of block as a 5. I'm just taking, means at the runtime 20 bytes have to reserve for that one block, where we are going to store the data again and again as a array form. Okay, so enter the data at index 0. So I'm just giving the data as on the at the 0th index. I'm just giving the 20, sorry for that, 12 I have to given. Okay, and then enter data at index 1. So I'm just giving 24, and after that enter data and index. So I'm just giving as a randomly 26. Again I'm just giving the 67, and again in the at the 4th index I'm just giving the 76. Okay, so this one is going to again and again taking the values from the user side, 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, 4 time, and 5th time, because we have to enter your numbers of the blocks. So inside that, at the runtime we have to create only 5 blocks for the integer values. So that's why we have to take in the only 5 values. Okay, and integral values, and after that we have to show all these values. So your all data is here. Okay, so 12 and 24 and the 26 and 67 and whatever we have to insert it, all this data is printed here. Okay, so this is the funda about the DMA concept. In runtime where we are going to create the blocks, numbers of blocks, okay, according to users requirement. Okay, so I want to show you something that I want to describe all these things in the few minutes for the better performance of the all these things. So I want to say you something that here with the main function. So first of all, compiler will be come here, and then that one is going to see that we have to declare 2 variable. That is the first one is a pointer types of the variable, and integer types of the data, means this one is going to holding the integer types of the addresses. Okay, and then after that what am I going to do here? I am just giving the one message for the user that enter your number for blocks. Okay, so this one is going to taking the numbers of the blocks, and inside this one n variable I am just taking the values whatever the user is giving here. Okay, and after that I am just going to creating the runtime array inside the heap memory. Okay, and size will be depend on the number of the argument, number of the blocks. Okay, so that's the funda about that, how can we create the, so this is the DMA concept is using here in the C++. Okay, so in the C we have to use the malloc, alloc, and the realloc, but here we are basically using the direct new keyword. Okay, so this is the funda about in the C++ that we can use this new keyword for that, for the creating the runtime, for the creating the runtime blocks in the heap memory. So basically we are just going to create the arrays just like arrays, so that's why we have to do that. Otherwise we can also do that, so only one data can be inserted there. Okay, so that's the main reason that we have to do that. So it's a array, and we have to store the arrays types of the data at the same types of the, that is the integer types of the data, we have to do that. So this one is just like, you can say calloc. Okay, just like a we can say this is just like a same as a calloc, because the array is here, and also there is a calloc is just going to create the number of the blocks, and the size is here, number of the size of the blocks. So integer size 4 bytes, and the number of the blocks is here. Okay, so this is the funda here, and after that we can see that we have to take in 2 variables. One is the counter, and the second one is the temp variable. Counter is taking for the counting the value, counting the our for the conditions, you can also say. Okay, so we have to use the, for the loop means for the repetition work we have to use the counter. Okay, again and again this one is going to increment, and we have to give in the message, enter the index at 0th index, 1th index, and 2 for whatever, until the this condition n will be not our counter will be not equal to n. Okay, and after that we have to also again and again we are going to taking the values in the data, in the temp variable again and again, because of the we are going to assigning the values on that, on in this address. Okay, I want to say you something that if we are going to only do this, so at a time what will be happen. Suppose that this address is just like a 101, so 101 address is assigning 101 er, I am just taking as the address. Okay, adr I am just taking. Okay, and this address, on inside this address, on this address we are just going to giving the address of the temp. Means I want to say that this one is going to holding the, this one is itself one address, and this one address is going to contain the this value, it is not the right things. So we must have to dereference, means we are going to assigning the data as integers. So dereference of the address means we are going to assigning the data, so that's why we have to use the dereference operator. Okay, and again and again this one is going to assigning here, and here we are going to performing the pointer arithmetic rule. That is arithmetic rule means plus, minus, multiply, and the division. Mainly plus and minus will be performed. So here we are going to perform the plus operator with the pointers. So again and again counter will be increase, and means also again and again our address will be again and again increase. So 101 and 105 and ar, again and again this one is going to do. Okay, and again and again this one is going to giving the value for there. So this one is going to holding the replacing the value. So by default I want to say you something that in this array by default all these things will be just like a zero or garbage values. No garbage values will be there. There is a zero, will be zero. All this data inside these indexes, all these only zero contains by all these blocks. Okay, so that's why we are going to here all these zeroth values again and again going to replacing by the values. Okay, and after that I am just giving the one message, your all data is here. So why am I just giving this message outside the loops? Because I want to give this message only one time. If we will use the inside this loop, then again and again we will get this message. So that's why I have to use that outside the our loops. And then I am just using again our loop because of the printing the values. So here also I am just giving, I'm just dereference of the pointer plus counter means the value we must have to print the value of that address. So this one is again and again pointer. So what's happening here? So 101 ar value printing value for ar for the value we are going to use the dereference operator. If we will not use the dereference operator, then you can see that what's happening here. I'm just taking the 2 as a variable for the blocks. So here we can see that this one is the hexadecimal values. Okay, so this one is the just like containing the addresses. Okay, so here we can see that addresses is printing because of this reason, because if you will use the dereference, so at that time what will happen, we will get the values. So again we can see, so I'm just taking 2, again I am just taking the 2 variables and 2 data, 2 and 2. So this one is, that one have to successfully printed. So what will happen if you are going to use here, not if you are not going to use here? So at a time counter means this one address equal to assign by this one, means value is means what is the meaning of this here? You can see that this one is one address, and address is assigning by the value. This one is not the right solution, so addresses will be replaced by this value. So that's the main funda that this one is not supporting right now. So let's see that we can also see that this one is going to giving the one error, that is a one error is here, that we can see that I value required as a left operand of assignment. Okay, so these types of the errors we are going to getting if you are going to use the dereference, then all these things will be solved. So because the main reason is here that this one is one address, okay, hexadecimal types of the addresses, and we are going to assigning the integer types of the values. How all these things will be happen, yeah. So that's why this one is going to do that. Okay, so that's the main reason of this error, and we can see that how can we create the runtime array or the runtime blocks inside the memory, that is inside the heap memory for the C++ programming world. Okay, so I hope that you have the clarity in this class that what is the meaning of the DMA in the C++ programming world. Okay, so this is the fun about all these things. You can also use here characters. So at a time we must have to give the character types of the data, okay, and floating or any types of the data you can use. So I am just giving one homework for you, that you must have to use the character and the float and the double and the different data here. Okay, so let's